What is going on, my good people? Welcome to Unnecessary Rambling and welcome to our thoughts here on the PlayStation Showcase. I'm joined by a good buddy, Mr. Jeffrey Martin, in the building. How you doing, man?
Hey, what's up, man? It's I'm pumped to be here with you. Uh Brandon and I did one of these a long time ago, last October, I think. Horror, I can't say it. Horror homies. So it's super cool being back with you, Brandon. This is gonna be a fun, a fun,
I,
a fun one. A fun,
Hey man,
just a fun.
I'm out of words. I'm out of words too, and I haven't even began yet. I have a lot of thoughts on this showcase. We're gonna get into all of that. A lot of games announced, and we're gonna go through all of them. Just provide a good little recap for you, run down through everything, provide our review and analysis of the show. We got some fun stuff coming for you in the future, but we'll keep that at a teaser for the time being and talk about that more later on. Um,
Getting cheeky there, man. Getting cheeky about stuff. Yeah, here we are. It's gonna be good. This PlayStation showcase was interesting for a lot of reasons, and I think we'll both have some spicy opinions. Good, bad, and otherwise. We shall see.
A lot of opinions, that's for sure. I'm going to kick this to you first, man. And I just want you off the top of your head. I didn't prepare you for this, but what would your letter grade for that show be? Just like an overall kind of assessment on the show. What would your letter grade for that show be?
Man, you're throwing me right into this and into the fire with this. So right off the bat, I'm gonna say a C. I can give reasonings if you want, but I know we'll get into all this. For me, it was just very quickly. I would say like 30 to 40% of these games felt exactly the same. You could have put any of the game names in there, and I was like, oh, another sci-fi game. Oh, another this game. And to me, it was just like this all felt. Well, I shouldn't say all, but mostly felt like, wow, this is just the same theme over and over ad nauseum. So anyway, that's that. That's
Yeah.
why I would say that.
I'm with you. I think I would be around a C, C minus, maybe even D plus, depending on how you
Woo!
know. I wouldn't. I'd say probably C minus, in between C and D plus. I just we'll get into all the games. This felt like a show that was made for a new audience. I got into the PlayStation 4 generation and was consumed by these games that felt very of my age range. Like it felt like games that were made for people who were a little bit older, a little bit more mature. And I'm not saying, we'll get into all the games that were shown off, but it felt like a showcase for a slightly younger audience and audience with maybe some slightly different tastes, which is fine. And I will say there was a good variety of games at the showcase, but this kind of felt like a bit of a state of play. It felt like a good, solid state of play to me.
Yeah, I would agree with you on that. There wasn't. I saw some discourse that there just wasn't a lot of tentpole titles that you would think. Again, we'll get into all of it, but I agree with you. In general, it was just kind of like here's a smorgasbord of games to look forward to. Most of them are going to look like the exact same thing over and over again. That's not necessarily a bad thing, but I don't know. It felt a little one note overall. But I don't know. Maybe everyone just has different expectations for these types of things. You know.
Yeah. The thing that kind of bums me out, man, is that I went into this with what I would say were fairly mild expectations because I kind of like I thought I had a decent idea going into the show, which I'll get into the predictions that I made, which were way wrong. But what surprised me more than anything was the amount of focus on third party games that were not like they're not exclusive. A lot of these games are not exclusive, and that's fine. Like I have both the consoles and all three of the consoles, including Switch, if you want to include that a console, handheld, whatever. But it's like it was just weird. I was so surprised by a lot of the lack of like exclusive titles and third party stuff, first party stuff. But let's go ahead and we'll jump into everything that was announced here at the showcase, run through it one by one, and
Yep.
really get into a good deep dive breakdown here. Of course, you don't have to spend too long talking about games that didn't do anything for you or didn't move the needle for you. I'm not expecting you to cover these games in depth if it didn't move you in any way, shape, or form. So we'll
Well,
run through.
there was some that moved me, baby. I'm moving. Not in a good way, probably. I don't know what that was. That
Yeah.
was weird. Let's go. Go for it. Woo!
All right. So we're going to kick it off with what opened the show, which was a game titled Fair Games. And this is Haven's new game, the first reveal for it. Jade Raymond, who was a lead over there at Ubisoft, really kind of ushered in the Assassin's Creed era with Ubisoft, and this felt a lot like a payday, Grand Theft Auto Online meets the futuristic hacking elements of Watch Dogs. It had a very live servicey feel to it. Once again, kind of feeling like this was appealing to a slightly younger market. And when I saw this, Jeffrey, and I'll kick it to you, is this set the tempo for what I was going to expect, and I felt like it was a pretty rough tempo setter, especially when you consider that there was no gameplay.
I definitely agree. It's a weird game to start such a big hyped showcase for. Not that this game won't have its place, and this is what I love about you, Brandon, is you have so much more deep dive insight into like I completely didn't think the whole Jade Raymond's her studio that didn't cross my mind. I'm not like enamored by her. She was a big part of Stadia. Stadia was a disaster, so like a name can only go so far. But Fair Games, exactly. It just looked like a generic by the numbers looter shooter heisty multiplayer game. And again, it'll probably do well, but it just looked uninspired, you know. And that Watch Dogs thing, I almost thought it was going to be a Watch Dogs thing because you're right. It had those vibes. It had those like hacker kind of like I don't know, like trying to be cool vibes of whatever that
Yeah.
franchise does. But do you think it's going to be one of those like competitive or like maybe team like free to play type games?
Pretty sure, yeah. Just from the expectations that it gave me was it was going to be a lot of hacking with some buddies. Maybe not necessarily competitive or whatever, but however they end up setting it up, I imagine it's going to have some sort of live service component to it, and it's going to be, in my opinion, it seems like it's going to be a game that appeals to that live service crowd. Which I knew going into this that Sony were preparing for that new initiative, which isn't what I'm necessarily looking for, but we're going to get into a lot more of that.
Yeah.
We had Helldivers 2 next up here.
Oh, it was
And
Helldivers 2.
yeah.
There was a Helldivers 1.
Yeah.
Okay, well that's the thing. I didn't realize that. Sorry, go ahead.
You're good. So, Helldivers 2 is massively overhauled from the first game. The first game was more of like an isometric kind of top down thing. This is like a third person shooter with seemingly a much higher budget from that, at least that opening animation with the character models and shit. It looked very, very impressive. But once again, you're looking at two service games back to back. A
Yeah.
ton of gameplay was shown off here with the 2023 window, PS5, PC only, but two service games back to back. And who knows, this could just be like a straight up multiplayer game, but once again, I'm getting service energy. Could very well be wrong. My expectations were starting to kind of plummet at this point.
Yeah, the words I put down for this when I saw it pop up. First of all, I didn't even realize there was a first one, so either that's my bad or the first one didn't do that well or whatever. But I put the sci-fi looter shooter. It very much reminded me. Do you remember that game? I think from last year, maybe or a couple years ago, called Outriders.
Yeah.
It was I kind of like this. That's very much the vibe I got with Helldivers 2. Apparently, I don't have much to say about it. Same as you. Is like, okay, this is the way we're going with this showcase. Here we are. Let's just strap in for some free to play potentially shenanigans. We don't know. We're just guessing, but
Yeah.
I don't have much to say on it.
Yeah. And then leading into the next game, Immortals of Avium, and I am really really excited for this game. Like I really am. But once again, a third party non-exclusive title. There's no relationship going on here between Sony and EA with this, as far as I'm aware. And the game looks cool. It looks like Ghostwire Tokyo with this, sci-fi first person weird magical abilities that you're pulling off and stuff. It's coming out July 20th, which is cool, and I understand why they're doing the marketing for it. But this, I predicted this in my last episode that it
Mhm.
was going to show up at Summer Games Fest because, in my opinion, I'm like, why would this be at a PlayStation? This just doesn't feel like, no offense, it doesn't feel like PlayStation showcase material at all to me.
It's an interesting point. You know, this game. I don't know if you've seen this one around a lot, but I feel like it's this game. Immortals of Avium has been in an interesting place because a lot of channels that I watch, or at least a handful, have been really promoting this game. And from what I know, which could be way wrong, is that there's a lot of content creator I don't want to say support or input. For example, like the channel Switch Force and Triple Jump, those two channels have been really pushing this game, and I've never really seen that from a lot of creators before. So from what I know is that there's a lot of backing, or like they've even hired on creators, which just is strange and it's cool. But the actual gameplay, this like magic technomancer esque first person stuff, does look really really cool. But I'm also a little bit worried that it's gonna have that Forspoken vibes where it's trying to be really cool and magic and edgy, and maybe it doesn't live up to like how Forspoken fell apart. Hopefully that's not true. It looks really fascinating, though. I mean, you can't deny that.
It's funny that you bring up Forspoken because I do feel that kind of Marvel-esque energy with some of the dialogue going on there in Immortals of Avium, which I'm not against that. I know a lot of people hate that stuff, and I understand why they do. Like it doesn't really bother me all that much. I didn't find like Forspoken had a lot of things going for it that were much worse than the dialogue,
Oh,
in my opinion. So I'm not against this kind of cheeky ish humor that they have going on here. But yeah, it's dropping July 20th. So we got another look at Immortals of Avium. We then led into Ghost Runner 2. And I played the first Ghost Runner. It was okay. It was solid. They're adding in motorcycles here, and they're shooting for a 2023 window. So okay. Once again, I I don't think the first one was exclusive to PlayStation. I don't think this one will be either. I don't know. I know that, you know, at these showcases you're going to have some third party stuff, but it's a lot of third party stuff here. So, uh, Ghost Runner 2, any thoughts on that?
yeah, it's weird. The note that I put, it's funny. It's like you picked up on what I was, in a lot of ways, I was thinking. The note that I wrote after this was these first four games all kind of look the same. Obviously, that's not going to be the case, but like if you just put them all into this like blender, it's going to create this like unholy smoothie of just like everything kind of looks the same. These first four games, including Ghost Runner 2, it just I didn't nothing really looked different from each other in terms of like style and ambiance. That being said, Ghost Runner, the first one, I do remember playing that, and it was brutal. I'm not good at those like twitchy, like spot on, like physicsy things. It was a cool game. Adding motorcycles is neat. I believe it's like an indie-ish double A game, so it's cool to see them highlight it. But yeah, this is it's all set the course for like a lot of third party. You're right, and that's just I don't know. As you said, it's just a very strange way to start a big showcase, as you mentioned.
It's weird, and I'm gonna get into some of the very notable omissions from the show in a bit, but we'll keep running through this here. We then had what I think was one of the more interesting looking games of the show, but as Jeffrey alluded to earlier, it looks very similar to Ghost of Tsushima and very similar to Rise of the Ronin, and that is Phantom Blade. This is a super fast. The movement looks very very good, very smooth here. Like a very parry heavy focused. I hate to be so just so comparison driven here, but it looks very similar to Ghost of Tsushima in the tone, in the setting, in the vibe. The it just looked a lot like Ghost of Tsushima, but with more maybe of a character action focus to the combat, to the movement. This is thankfully a PlayStation 5 exclusive,
Mhm.
so this at least makes sense of being shown off so prominently. It did have quite a bit of gameplay. I hope it's not really kind of, I know, I hope it's not Souls driven in its combat. It just seems too fast, too fluid to be a Souls like title, but I could be deceived here. But it just it looked a lot like Ghost, and it looked a lot like Rise of the Ronin. When you have Ghost 2 on the horizon, when you have Rise of the Ronin on the horizon, which we'll go ahead and say this, neither popped up at the show. Rise of the Ronin's supposed to be dropping, I believe, in early 2024, if I'm not mistaken. Ghost of Tsushima 2, we haven't seen yet, but we know it's in development. This looks very, very similar. And as you alluded to earlier, that we've seen a lot of similar looking stuff here. But regardless of all that, I will say that the gameplay just looks damn good. This looks really fun on the, you know, you got the horses, you're battling on the back. Like that looked real sick. I'll say that the gameplay looked super sick.
I think you're a lot more hot on this one than I was. I mean, I'm not going to deny the game looks phenomenal. It all looks fast paced. You answered a question that I was going to ask you. Does that make sense? You said something that I was going to ask you was, do you think this is going to be a Soulsborne game? I do. When I saw this, immediately my mind went to, oh, here we go. Another studio doing a Soulsborne game. We're going to get a Neo. We're going to get a Sekiro, however you say it. We're going to get another Wo Long Fallen Dynasty. And that's not bad. People love these Soulsborne games. I'm going to say something spicy here. I personally do not like Elden Ring. I don't think that's a good game. So when I see more games that are Soulsborne, that's cool for people that get excited about it. I'm just tired of that. There are genres that I'm getting tired of, as well as like things like roguelites and roguelites. For me, Phantom Blade just looked like another one of those games. I'm sure it'll be fantastic. I'm just not interested in it based on it looks like a Soulsborne, but you said you don't think it will be based on the speed of the combat.
Yeah, I mean, Sekiro was fairly fast, so you know, but it wasn't that fast. That's a really, really fast game. That gives me a lot of character action vibes with the way it was moving. I would be surprised if that was like full on Souls like. Maybe if it had some DNA, some shared some similar DNA to a Souls game, maybe. But I would be surprised if that was a full on Souls like title. But I've been wrong plenty of times in the past. But to me, like I really think out of everything that was shown off here, that might be my game of the show, which that's
Wow.
and listen to how I'm talking about it. Once again, I'm not trying to be so reductive in comparing it to Ghost and Rise of the Ronin, but I'm not sitting here like super hot. It looks great, but I'm not like blown away. You know what I mean? Like this
Yeah.
game looks like other games that I've played, but it looks really good. It looks like a really good version of something I've already played before. And I think that is my game of the show potentially. That's
Wow, that's not what that's I've known you for a while now. We've talked a lot. For anyone that doesn't know, we've talked a lot over the years. That's not what I expected from you, based on what's to come, at least somewhat. So that's okay. Hey, listen, go for it, man. You follow your heart, follow true love.
yeah, yeah, we'll talk a little bit more about it as we go.
All
We
right.
had we rolled right into Sword of the Sea. This is coming from Giant Squid, the creators of Abzu and the Pathless, and it's in collaboration with the artists from Journey. This to me felt very Tony Hawk meets Journey meets Abzu, kind of rolling their whole catalog into Sword of the Sea. I thought this looked sick. I will say that I thought this looked really, really interesting. I'm for sure going to check this out. I love these kind of independent artsy style games. I'm really into that stuff. I'm playing two of them right now, playing in Avalana and After Us, and I try to check out all these games. I'm there for Sword of the Sea.
It warms my heart to hear you say that, Brandon, because back in the day, I used to run an indie game channel. So indie games are always my passion. I've lost a lot of the luster for some of them, but to hear you say that, and I know you've been playing more and more indies over the years, it warms my heart. And I agree with you. Sword of the Sea, the first thing that popped up was Journey. Journey wasn't my cup of tea. Just at the time that I played it, it wasn't my cup of tea, but I fully get the artistic value of that. However, that's exactly what I thought. Journey meets like sandboarding. Journey meets skateboarding. Journey meets input extreme sport here, and it looks awesome. It just looks like a freaking good old time, a fantastic art style. One of those games I think after a long day you just toss on, relax, unwind with, maybe pull off a 900 Tony Hawk style, I guess, and go on your way. It does look really cool. I'm excited for that.
Yeah. We then rolled into Talos Principle 2. In I have nothing to add. This is just like a CG kind of cinematic panning of the environments. It's coming 2023. You have anything you want to add there?
No, it's a. I guess that's the best we can say. I think I know the first Talos Principle is a beloved game for first-person puzzler fans. Games like The Witness, Portal games, obviously. So I know people love the first one from what I've heard, but nope, I couldn't be less interested personally.
All right. I don't disagree at all. We move into Neva, and this is dropping in 2024, coming from the creators of Gris. I feel like I always say that wrong. But the trailer was extremely dark, just a bunch of shit dying nonstop. You're seeing like little dogs dying and shit. Like, golly, man, that's that's a dark trailer for such a pretty, like this cute art style. Really, really dark. But there was nothing to really go off of here. The tone was absolutely set. I can guarantee you we're going to see some dark shit pop up in that game, but that's kind of all we really had to go off of.
It comes from, so the publisher of this, as we'll see from a few of the other indies later on, is Devolver. Devolver is easily, and I shouldn't say is becoming, they already are like the special publishing house for indie games. They just know how to find the indie games that are going to be great. I never played, I think it's pronounced Greece. I don't even remember now. It's French or something. I didn't
Yeah,
play it. I have it, but I haven't played it. Did you play that game?
I didn't.
Okay, so people seem to love it because it's a really emotional adventure narrative platformer, and I know you love some of those emotional games, don't you?
I do. Yeah, yeah.
But there's not much to go on. You're right. There's no gameplay. It looks like it'll pull your heartstrings, but we don't know what it's going to play like. So
Well, good pull on you because I didn't even see Devolver attached to it. That raises my expectations much much higher. So good eye. I did not catch that. That definitely makes me a lot more excited for it.
that's the only thing I caught. Don't worry. I'm not the detailed person like you are. You're good at that. Yeah. Well, anyway, we'll
Yeah,
move
dude.
on.
Well, we move on to speaking of some detail, cat Cat Quest Pirates of the Caribbean. I mean, hey man, you got to get crafty to avoid any sort of lawsuit on that one. That's a very okay, impressive. Cat Quest Pirates of the Caribbean is legitimately the name of this game. It's a kind of like old school NES looking cat where you're playing as a cat but you're a pirate, I guess.
Can I read you what I wrote for this?
Hit me.
The first game in the showcase that actually got me excited.
Really?
Mic drop. I'm serious, man. Listen, that's to me says a lot and sums up. And again, everyone's gonna have their personal thing. That for me sums up the showcase. Is that this was the first game where I was like, "Wow, this looks unique and different." I will say, I'm the target audience for this. I love vibrant, colorful, happy games. I played the first two Cat Quest games. I played with my wife. I enjoy those games. They're fun. They're colorful. They're happy. They got puns. If you don't like freaking puns, get out of here. And anyway, there's not much else to say about it. They are fun games, and it's probably just going to be one of those low key ones. But that was the first one that got me excited, which I think is a little sad. Or I
Yeah.
just have terrible taste in games, which could also be true.
Yeah, no, it looked cool. Like it looked fun going around and cracking open some treasures with your little cat. Like nothing wrong with that at all. I appreciate the fact that they went so hard on that name, Cat Quest Pirates of the Caribbean. That is a stunning name to me.
10
Like
out of 10 game, man. 10 out of 10.
I
You
don't
heard it here
understand.
first.
I don't understand how you avoid a lawsuit with that. But hey,
Because
okay.
cats. People love cats, so there'll be no lawsuit, I guess.
Yeah, I respect it, man. I respect it. We then move on into Foam Stars.
I'm excited to hear what you have to say about this because I know what you like and don't like about games somewhat. I'm so excited to hear what you have to say about it because I think we're going to be polar opposites.
Okay, well, hey,
Go.
I think you're damn right. If you were looking forward to this, if you thought this looked like up your alley, then you were right. We are totally on the opposite end of the spec, dude. This was at a point where I was like, I am just not the target audience for this showcase. Like, for the fact that it's a Square Enix live service game to me is astonishing. Like astonishing that this is what Square Enix is publishing. I'll grant you that the art style of it, like the concept of shooting these bubbles and you got some damn foam all over the ground, like I'll give you that it looks like it could probably be a fun time. It's just not a fun time for me. That it's just not gonna be something I'm looking to check out. What do you got? What do you got on this? Hit me.
When I watched this, I knew it. I knew we were going to record this. I was like, I can't wait to hear about Brandon's reaction because I knew it would just be like, this looks like the absolute worst thing for me. So I'm going to say it out loud. The name of the game is awful. Foam Stars. I hate that. That's so cringy. But if anyone doesn't know, I play Fortnite religiously. I love Fortnite to death from the beginning. So I am absolutely the target audience, and I hate myself for it, and I need to go to more therapy about it. That being said, this looks like Fortnite blended with like a hero shooter and Splatoon, so it's going to do well, at least for a short amount of time. But the problem with these live service games, with there being so many, you can't compete with bigger games like Fortnite anymore. You just can't. If you're going to come out and have a game like this, even if you're Square Enix, it has to have a constant amount of content rolling out like Epic Games does. And if it doesn't, we've seen plenty of games like this just shut down. Knockout City, Realm Royale, Rocket Arena, just there's like hundreds of them, it feels like. I'm excited to try it, but honestly, I'm starting to really lose faith in free to play games. So let's move on, baby.
Preach the gospel, brother.
Woo!
That's what I was thinking too. Square Enix publishing a live service game like that does not give me a lot of hope. Every damn earnings call, they're talking to their investors saying that Tomb Raider that sold 12 million copies was somehow a financial failure. Like I can't imagine what they're yeah, I don't see Square Enix sticking with this game, and I feel for the people who are going to get invested into it and have the rug pulled out from up under them. I hope I'm wrong, but you know the track record for a lot of these service games lately is pretty consistent with that. We then move into my most anticipated indie game of the year. Undeniably, it still looks so good. Plucky Squire. What they showed off was more of what we saw in that first trailer. They still didn't give a date for the release. Launch it, have it as solid and day one, just smooth, great experience. But I am, a little bit bummed, if I'm being honest, that we haven't seen it in a while and then it pops back up. And it's just kind of more of what we saw in the last trailer without a release date, especially once again. This is PlayStation hasn't had a showcase since 2021. If you're going to pull out, you're going to get one of the most anticipated indie games on the block.
Mhm.
And then it's kind of the same trailer that we saw whatever a year ago when Plucky Squire was first revealed. Like that just doesn't move the needle for me as much. Like I'm gonna play if they put this game out at $70, like I don't care. I'm buying this thing day one. This looks amazing to me. But it was a lot more of the same with the trailer. It looks undeniably great, but it was a lot more of the same with the trailer that we got with the reveal.
You're not wrong about that. There was very much the same thing, but I'm on the same page as you, Brandon. This is my most anticipated indie. It just looks so freaking charming, but it's something we've already seen a handful of times. I'm pretty sure it was in like a Switch Direct or a Nintendo Direct. I could be way wrong on that, but wasn't it in a Nintendo Direct at some point?
I think it got revealed last year. It could have been at a direct. It got revealed, and then we haven't seen anything from it since the reveal, if I'm not mistaken. So, but the reveal trailer that we got for it was almost very, 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 very similar to what we saw here.
It is, and you're right about that. So I hope that they start showing a little more, and at the very least, I guess otherwise just shadow drop it if they're confident. This is another one from Devolver, I
Yeah.
believe. So they know how to find the right ones. This just looks charming and colorful, and the way that your character can move between like a book and then like a mug and then the table and like you're exploring and battling. And man, I'm with you on this. This is going to be such a fun one when it
Yeah,
if ever comes out.
I believe it still says that nebulous kind of 2023 window. I think it could hit that 2023 window. It's just like, man, and I understand. Like, I don't ever want publishers to force developers to put a release date or a release window on something when they're not ready, of course. But it's just like, once again, this felt like a Keeley. This felt like something that you give to Keeley for the Summer Games Fest. This doesn't feel like a PlayStation showcase. If it had its release date, for sure, that's big enough for a PlayStation showcase. But this feels like something that goes to Summer Games Fest usually. It the thing that kind of bums me out is this showcase has me like tempering my expectations for Summer Games Fest as well, because it's like
Yeah.
this is supposed to be the show. Xbox and PlayStation, that's going to be the two shows. But Summer Games Fest is usually a much like milder version of both of those. So it's like, golly, man, I might have went way too wild with my predictions on Summer Games Fest. But regardless, we then moved on to Teardown. And this is it looks so freaking cool, man. This looks so cool to me. Seems like Minecraft with this insane level of destructibility. The physics, it's just incredible what's going on in this game. You have weapons, you have vehicles, you have helicopters, you're driving boats. Like, there's just so much going on here for, I believe a pretty small team was working on this and created just a sick ass physics based sandbox with like I don't even know if I know there's like some sort of building mechanics because you're taking these little, I don't know what you call it, boost packs and strapping it to the back of vehicles. The vehicles go flying, almost some Tears of the Kingdom energy. Like this looks really good. I believe it was already on PC, and it's just getting its console release this year.
Yeah, I think you're right about that. I'm pretty sure. I don't know if it was early access or something, but people, this has been in like a bunch of different videos around YouTube. I'm curious if you got the same vibes as me in a different way. The first thing that I thought of with this game was of Red Faction Gorilla.
Nice,
Did,
good
did, did
pull.
you think of that at all? At least in the terms of like in Gorilla, you could, was it Gorilla? Red Faction Gorilla? Was that the one on Mars?
Yeah, well, yeah, that was the one with all. I mean, because they had them for the PS2 and stuff with all that was like one of the first series that really introduced like the crazy, destructible kind of little playgrounds that you had.
I just remember with that one, if I'm thinking it was Gorilla or whatever on 360 or whatever, PS3, just whacking things down with the giant hammer and the little mines. And that's what Teardown reminded me of, is just like in first person, though, where you could just destroy everything, watch all the physicsy shenanigans, as you had said, but then maybe rebuild things. And maybe there's like quests or little missions around that, which could be really cool. So, yeah, hey, it's a good one for console.
Yeah, I think this is like a really good building block for potential future projects. Like there's something in there. Once again, you're looking at something that looks very Grand Theft Auto-esque, and a lot of it's obviously a much smaller scale, but like there's so many moving parts to this game. That's the reason you don't see a lot of games that incorporate driving, incorporate flying, incorporate boats, incorporate combat, incorporate some like sandbox element. It's not because those games don't sell incredibly well or this. It's because it's hard to do. So the fact that they were able to pull any of this off is a miracle, in my opinion. So I can't wait to see this on console. This once again was a highlight of the showcase for me, but I don't think this has any relationship with PlayStation at all. It's coming everywhere, I think.
And that's indicative of what we've talked about, is a lot of this show. I say I keep wanting to call it state of play. A lot of this showcase certainly had some winners, but I think it's indicative of that. You could have seen these in any random video or showcase. Like none of this screams PlayStation, which maybe that will come down the line with some of these games where they'll like link the two together. But for now, it just feels like this could have been in a Nintendo Direct, a Summer Games Fest, anything. Although getting into this next entry, this is where I'm really curious because I know that you're a fan of what we're going to talk about next. But you've already said what might be your possible game of the thing. So I'm curious with this next one for you.
Well, yeah, I mean, look, listen, whenever, so you see the reveal, you see it, slowly transitioning from was it the ant being ate by the alligator, then the snake pops up and attacks the alligator, then they do the slow pan in the water, and old Solid Snake pops out the water, looking as good as ever, Snake looking as good as ever, and with modern technology. Obviously it was just cinematics, but it was yeah, Metal Gear Solid 3 being remade, calling it Metal Gear Solid Delta now, I believe, and kind of restarting from here and then moving forward. I assume, we'll get the other games as well, but maybe if that's the plan at all, because Konami is going Silent Hill 2 instead of Silent Hill 1 first. So we'll see what happens there. Look, I can't sit here and lie to you. This is absolutely like one of my favorite franchises of all time. It would for sure have been my game of the show, but I don't know anything about that game. I just know it's being made. I saw a cool little cinematic CG shot of Snake popping out the water, literally, and the actual character, but it it looked like it looked like something that I just wanted more of. As soon as it was done, I just wanted more. I wanted to see what the gameplay was. I wanted to see something of it. But and I'm not for one, I thought that this was going to be like a Blue Point developed game. It's coming to us from Virtuous Studios, who has been a support team up to this point, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
I don't think we're seeing Metal Gear Solid 3 the remake until probably like 2025 or later before it launches.
Wow. Okay. That's a big push. That's a big far out push. But I mean, you could be right. They didn't show anything apart from that, so that could be very true.
Yeah. So, what was your take on it? What are you excited for this or?
I'm not. I'm just going to say it up front. I'm not a Metal Gear Solid fan. It's not. I've played when I was younger. I had a PlayStation 1. I played through the entirety of the first MGS and it was fine. It's just, I'm just going to be honest. Like that series does absolutely nothing for me. It just doesn't spark or any excitement in me. And I've never played 3. I did think it was interesting that they, yeah, chose to not call it Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater remake. And they decided to take out the 3. And it's probably because of what you're saying. They're going to go back to the, because isn't it like the start of the narrative is the snake eater, correct?
Yeah, well,
Okay.
yeah, canonically like that would be the first game that took place in the canon, like on a year by year timeline. But yeah, they can do it. They can do it if they wanted to go for, 3 and then 1 and then 2. They could do that. Um, yeah, I would have preferred to see 1 first, but regardless, I'm very, very excited for this. I don't want to be overly pessimistic here because I am very, very, very excited for Metal Gear Solid 3. It's just the fact that like it's being made by an unproven team. It's we saw none of the game, so like there's it's hard to just be over the moon for it. And once again, talking about games I really wanted to see that didn't pop up, Silent Hill 2. Speaking of Konami as well, like that's very shocking to me. That is a PlayStation 5 exclusive. There was a lot of rumor of it possibly launching this year. Not seeing it this showcase, that does not instill any hope or any faith for that game for me, especially not to be too disrespectful, but I don't really trust Bloober either. So we got Virtuous Studios on
Mhm.
Metal Gear Solid 3. We got Bloober, who is definitely more proven than Virtuous Studios, but we got Bloober on Silent Hill 2. Like, it's hard for me to be overly optimistic about Konami's pipeline right now.
I'm glad you brought it up. This seemed like as good a time as any now that we're talking about MGS. That the whole lack. This is the last note I made for the after the Spider-Man stuff. Oh, well, spoiler after the Spider-Man 2 stuff. Whatever, everyone knows.
Yeah.
Um, is this the lack of Konami stuff? Like this, absolutely, as you said, would have been the place to really dive deeper. Instead of having 15, 20 minutes about Spider-Man, also do like 10 minutes about Silent Hill. People are very much, like you said, on the fence. Bloober Team has made some good games. I love Layers of Fear, but I didn't care for some of the other games. Um, it just would have been the perfect place to just really have that confidence be brought out to showcase that Bloober can do this for one of the most beloved survival horror games. And at the same time, while I know you and others are very understandably excited for Snake Eater or Delta or whatever they're calling it, I'm so bummed there was nothing with Castlevania. Castlevania is my absolute favorite. You'll see I have 2 Castlevania little characters up here. That's my favorite series of all time. So I know nothing was confirmed with any of that, but just to know that like if there is something in the pipeline, gosh, I wish there was something. I'm so bummed by that. I don't know if you're at all as passionate about Castlevania, but what do you think about that?
Yeah, no, I'm not a mega Castlevania fan. I played Symphony of the Night back in the day on the PlayStation 1 and really enjoyed it, but it's not one of my more nostalgic games, but I will say like I I didn't really expect Castlevania to be here. I thought it would be a rollout of Silent Hill and then Metal Gear Solid and then Castlevania if those rumors were true of the working relationship between Konami and Sony, but I don't think Metal Gear Solid 3 is exclusive. I think Metal Gear
Oh,
Solid 3 is coming everywhere. That was the rumor that I
uh,
heard today. I haven't looked into that like on the blog post or anything, but I think Metal Gear Solid 3 is going to all platforms. And you know what?
okay.
Here's my most excited thing about all this. MGS 1, 2 and 3, the original games are all coming in August, I
Yeah.
believe. So that to me, that's the win right there. I'm going to happily go back and play through all 3 of those bad boys in August. So,
Okay.
but yeah, I mean Castlevania that I do hope we see a real return to Castlevania because I know the games you really enjoyed were those PS2 like action adventure style Castlevania games, correct?
Yeah, I kind of like the black sheep of the franchises because there's one on PlayStation 2 called Castlevania Curse of Darkness. People are gonna like despise that because it's like a 3D Castlevania. It's not Symphony of the Night. I will say is my absolute favorite. I don't want to go on Castlevania too long because it's not in here, but
Okay.
yeah, there's a couple on PS2, Curse of Darkness and Lament of Innocence that I love so much. But anyway, at the end of the day, I think it falls into that camp of Silent Hill, MGS, Castlevania. If we could have had at least something from all 3 of those, that would have been awesome. People were expecting that to an extent, but the Silent Hill is definitely a bummer. But hey, MGS fans can be excited at least.
Yeah, well, thing I was gonna say was like a Santa Monica, you know, the creators of God of War making a Castlevania game, that or that style, that would be, I mean, I would be over the moon excited to play something like that because I love the, you know, the idea of Castlevania for sure. That just that kind of tone and everything, that is absolutely up my alley. But
Well, let's
we
move on. I
shall
feel like we
see.
got so many games to go. We got like there's just crazy how many games there were. So let's see
Tons,
what's next,
man.
man.
Yeah. Towers of I'm do you have the pronunciation of this down?
I was trying to type it out as the logo popped up, and I only got towers of, so I just guessed and put like Ashagwa.
And
I
that's
have
that's
no idea though.
yeah, we'll go with that. Look, the name, you know, I don't know how to pronounce it, but I will say the game actually looks kind of impressive, man. The scale of these monsters, the world looks vast. It has definitely once again some Zelda energy going on here, some Horizon energy going on. It looks more realistic in the vein of something like a Horizon, but maybe not quite that realistic and not as like cartoony as Zelda. Like I'm very interested in seeing more on this Towers of title.
Yeah, the towers of something. There's actually a few games I feel like in this one that had a tower a moniker to it. But yeah, it looked cool. It looked like a really nice indie double A game that wanted to blend Zelda-esque stuff with Shadow of the Colossus and world building and farming type things. Like it looked like it's trying to do a lot. Hopefully there's not a lot of feature creep, but it looks
Yeah,
cool. Yeah, I agree. It does look like one of those unique. It was one of the more unique things we saw for sure.
totally agree. We'll run through this next one real quick. Final Fantasy 16. I'm there day one. I'm gonna play it, but I don't need to see anymore. Final Fantasy 16.
Okay.
Anybody who's sold on Final Fantasy 16 is already sold. I don't think that I understand the marketing for it, the lead up for it, but I don't think really anything else needs to be said about Final Fantasy 16. It looks absolutely amazing.
It makes sense that they showed it though, because
Of
obviously this
course.
is a huge, huge push for them. I didn't know that you enjoyed Final Fantasy games.
I love the remake. I love Final Fantasy VII remake. That
Okay.
was the first title I ever played. I'm not a big turn-based guy. I'm not a big turn-based guy at all. So whenever they announced that they were remaking Final Fantasy VII in a more action-oriented focus to the combat, I jumped in immediately. And the same thing going on here with Final Fantasy 16 with the Devil May Cry style combat.
Mhm.
I'm there day one on it. Are you a Final Fantasy guy?
So I love JRPGs. I grew up playing JRPGs on PS1, PS2, a lot of good memories. But Final Fantasy, I've always dipped in and out of. It's never really hooked me. I've been more like the niche ones. Kingdom Hearts, that's not niche, but Kingdom Hearts has always been more my series. There's been like more niche JRPGs called like Shadow Hearts, things like that. Um, the only reason I'm really interested in 16 is because they're going back to like the high fantasy vibe.
Yes.
I prefer that. I love the whole high fantasy vibe. So I didn't care for Final Fantasy 15. That didn't interest me at all, and I didn't enjoy it. 16, yeah, it looks awesome. I'll play it. I don't care to see much either. Just like you said, let's just get to it and experience this massive story.
For sure. Here we go. Here we go. So, as I said earlier, the what is it? The I forget the name, but Phantom Blade Zero. That might have been my most anticipated game just for the sheer shock of it. Like, oh wow, this is new. But Alan Wake 2, we finally got the date, October 12th. I'm there. Day one, the world looks great. The character models look great. You got Sam Lake popping up. You saw a little bit of gameplay for Alan Wake 2 playing as two characters seemingly and
Mhm.
kind of going in this Resident Evil 2 over the shoulder perspective. I think I said October 12th. That's the next game. October 17th is the release date for Alan Wake 2. So you got me. I'm there day one.
This is the one I was when you had said the Phantom Blade one was your game. I was thinking first of all Metal Gear Solid Snake Eater, but then I was also thinking Alan Wake because I know just like me, you love a good survival horror game. Alan Wake 2 is absolutely my game of the show. I didn't expect them to do. I don't know for some reason. I know it's not true, but I always expect Alan Wake to still be tied with Xbox. I know that's not the truth anymore, but like that's where I played it and that's where it was exclusive originally. I just completely forgot they would showcase this if possible. So, man, I this was the one I even put in my notes, the first AAA game that actually got me pumped in the showcase. The first game is awesome. This one looks like they're really, really super digging into the horror aspects, which Frickin', I'm all there, dude. Like you, it's gonna be in October. Come on, as long as it doesn't get pushed, that's a perfect game to release during that Halloween time of year. Let's go, baby.
Perfect, dude. Yeah, it's the absolute perfect game for October, and it seems like they are putting some real money behind this thing. I'm very, very, very excited for Alan Wake 2. We then move into Assassin's Creed Mirage. I very much needed to see this. Some back to basics kind of old school Assassin's Creed style gameplay, a real good stealth focus seemingly from the trailer, kind of having options of how you can like infiltrate different buildings and stuff. I when I saw the kind of smaller scale approach, but more intentionally designed environments, I was like, yeah, this is what I need. But once again, similar Alan Wake 2, Assassin's Creed Mirage, neither. I don't understand what they have to do with PlayStation. Like you said, Alan Wake you associate with Xbox. Obviously, it's not going to be exclusive there, but it's like, eh, okay, cool. We got two games I was very much wanting to see more of. I'm happy about that. Do not get me wrong, but I am still left with some big question marks. Assassin's Creed Mirage does look great though. October 12th for the release date on that one.
You hit the nail on the head again, as we've kind of probably said ad nauseum now, but that's kind of the theme of this show is some really cool bangers, some really uninspired ones, some we haven't gotten to yet, but everything kind of looks like it could be everywhere, and that's I think indicative of this. But Mirage, as you said, it's been rumored for months now, right, that this was going to be the back to basics, right? AC1, AC2, Assassin's Creed 2 is my favorite. What's your favorite Assassin's Creed? Actually, I'm
I
curious.
actually got to say, I my favorite Assassin's Creed is Odyssey because that was the first one I ever jumped into. But I'm actually really excited about this because I love the game feel and the gameplay of Assassin's Creed Odyssey and Valhalla. But I just was totally like Valhalla was just so much bloat, and so to see it like more scaled back, scaled down, I was like, hell yeah, that's really what I want to because I want to go back and play through the Assassin's Creed the earlier games because I know they're more in that 10 to 15 hour style experience. That's exactly what I want from Mirage.
Yeah, I agree. I think we saw what we needed to see. People are going to know that, okay, as long as it's not filled with a bunch of like store shops and free to play bloat that's in a full price game, as long as Ubisoft somehow just lets it live out as a single player game, man, hey, we're a good pickings this October.
Eh, yeah, right. Two in a row there. We then move into I hope I got this name right. Revenant Hill. Is
Yeah,
that the name you wrote down? Okay.
yeah, that's the
Uh
one.
okay, cool. It's the team that made Night in the Woods. I just remember that trailer going really fast and I was trying to like type the notes up and I wasn't 100% sure if I got that right. But yeah, you're playing as a cat. Not a lot was shown off here. I don't know. The pedigree, the Night in the Woods developer, that's something, I guess.
Did you play Night in the Woods?
I didn't.
Okay, it's a
Did
really cool game. It's an adventure, almost I don't want to say point and click, but it has more of tendencies of that, like a traditional adventure game. I didn't
mhm.
finish it. I played a couple hours, but man, the writing in that game is spot on. The team that writes that just they know how to just craft a timely piece and they know what to do with it. So this looks probably maybe more like a platformer potentially. It's hard to really say there was no gameplay, but I'm psyched about it. I love a good charming indie game. So yeah, I'm here.
Yeah, I'm willing to give it a look. I know that people praise Night in the Woods, so
Mhm.
I'm willing to be I'm open to it for sure. We then move into Grand Blue Fantasy Relink, and once again, I don't have a ton to say here. It kind of has like some modern Arcadia, Skies of Arcadia vibes going on for it a little bit. It's got a 2023 window. I, I I don't have much more to add on to it.
I don't have anything either. I thought Grand Blue was a fighting series, so what do I know?
Yeah. I believe. Well, speaking of fighting series, we move right on into Street Fighter 6.
Okay.
Once again, I think it looks cool. Kind of fine with never seeing it again. I understand they got to market this bad boy. Uh, the story thing that they're showing off that they're pushing is kind of getting me more and more intrigued. It's coming out June 2nd, 2023. You have anything you want to add there? We've seen it quite a bit
Yeah, I'm not a fighting game fan. This is not my mark. This isn't my market at all. So I have zero interest. However, for fans that are, I can see why they'd be psyched. I do hope the open worldy story things don't feel tacked on for people that like it, but it's not my cup of tea at all. So
for sure. Ultros is our next game here. It's like this side scroller. not to be too reductive here, it kind of looks like something you might play on your phone. It's a 2024 title. We didn't see much of it. It looks like an interesting art style. It kind of has some creepy-ish, horror-ish vibes there. I I don't really have a lot to add. You have anything?
No, it looked like a unique, yeah, platform Metroidvania. Hopefully, there's not roguelite stuff. We just need some more traditional platform Metroidvanias. But you can't deny the art style in that game was really darn exciting. But again, it's so far away at this point. It's just there's games like this coming out all the time. So hopefully, it'll stand out as it gets closer.
Yeah. Tower of Fantasy. And this next title, this when I first saw it, I was expecting this to be the Horizon MMO that has been leaked and rumored, and it's supposed to be this like Monster Hunter-esque Horizon title. And this Tower of Fantasy game, I really thought it was going to be that at first. It's this developer Perfect World Games, who I've never heard of, making well, what you're I'll obviously clip in the gameplay and stuff here. You'll be seeing it on the screen. I once again, man, this is just we're getting into a period here, and it goes on. Like I'm looking at my list. There's a lot of these
Mhm.
back to back to back that I don't have. I I don't know, man. I don't have anything here.
That's okay. I mean, I don't think we have to have so much on everything. That's just impossible. So, Perfect
Yeah.
World Entertainment is known for their MMOs. So, they're most popular for the Neverwinter series. So that's one of their most popular ones, Neverwinter. So, Tower of
Okay.
Fantasy might lean potentially more into the MMO space. It's hard to say. I think we just deserve somewhat of a round of applause that we got one of the Tower of games with the full name there.
Yeah.
Tower of Ashwagandha or whatever. Now Tower of Fantasy.
This
We at least got
fantasy.
one of them right. Dang it. We deserve some of those.
Wow, I didn't even notice that Towers of. That's the Tales of and Towers of. We got a new thing going on here. So
Anyway, moving on. What's the next one?
we got Dragon's Dogma 2 next up, and this is I'm very, very much excited for this as well. This is once again one of the big AAA titles that has me pumped. We saw quite a bit of gameplay here. You're seeing the hanging on to the flying big ass bird like enemies, yeah, carving out a damn like you're going to town. The combat looks amazing. Still looks kind of clunky, but in the most charming ways. Cinematics look much better. It looks like they're putting some real money into Dragon's Dogma 2. And yeah, Capcom's been on a roll lately. I trust them. I only played a little bit of the first Dragon's Dogma, but I enjoyed what I played of it, and I'll definitely be checking out the sequel.
Yeah, like you, I only played a little bit of the first. It was charming. It was really cool, but it was really hard. I just get
Yeah.
burned out of hard games because I suck at everything. But it's cool. I know people are over the moon for this because it's such a beloved kind of cult classic-y game. So to see a new one in all its glory, I know there was like a Dark Arisen, like which was kind of like a prequel or sequel. I don't know, but yeah, I don't have much to say, but it does look cool. I'm glad there's more fantasy games for people like myself too that love it.
Yeah.
So yeah, hey, more Capcom goodness. They're on a roll as you said.
They are, man, and we'll get back to them in a second here, but first we have Five Nights at Freddy's. Uh, there's like a new Five Nights at Freddy's game announced every day. I don't really know what to do at this point with them. It's coming late 2023. There's a movie coming out as well. So hey, Five Nights at Freddy's. They're more of it here for you.
People love the FNAF games, and I'm cool enough because I said FNAF, and that's what the cool people say. So I'm cool. Dang it, let me be cool. No, but dude, they all look identical. I know that's going to sound like blasphemous to people that love the series. So sorry, we're not trying to offend you. Maybe we are.
I don't
It
care.
just looks the same every time. Like I just stop, please.
Yeah. Hey, look, do your thing. We're about to get into a stretch here, man. Do you have any interest in VR at all?
Well, hang on. We won't say the next game, but I'm really sad about this next thing, and I hate that this next thing is going to be talked about. But you want to move into VR first?
Wait, did I miss something?
Yeah,
What
you
was
missed. Hang on, you missed. Yeah, you missed that. I guess that's the problem. You missed Marathon from Bungie.
Oh my goodness, I had that down later. Okay,
And guess
yeah.
what? That's probably why. Is because Bungie is such a big name that Sony scooped up, and their new game is called Marathon. It looks like the
Yeah.
most dull, uninspired, like shootery adjacent game that you could ever get. And when I saw this, every part of me died. I'm actually not real right now because of it. And the
Yeah,
fact
this
that
is
you forgot it and will put it later, I think, is indicative of like this free to play everything needs to be this sci-fi crap. Like, I'm sorry, but just stop. Like, just stop. Just please stop. Someone. Anyway,
Yeah,
go ahead.
it's a classic, Bungie IP. A lot of people supposedly really enjoyed this thing back in the day, and I guess they're reviving it. But once again, like you said, man, it's another sci-fi shooter, like a PvP style sci-fi shooter. Oh boy, you know, we saw Destiny that was revealed, I believe, right after, and it's like I get that there's some differences there for the people who really want to spot it, but if you would have just put those games and like not gave any title to anything and just put one trailer like the marathon trailer right before a Destiny trailer with no titles revealed, I would have sworn that that was the same game.
And that was just that feels like that was true for like a huge chunk, especially the beginning of this showcase.
Yeah.
You could just put any name on top of any of these. And again, that's not to belittle any of these people that are working their tails off to make the game. That's not
No.
to cause any like negativity. It's just that everything doesn't need to be the same, you know.
Well,
Anyway,
it's not the developers, it's the showcase. Like that's the thing. It's how is this your showcase? You haven't had one in two. Anyways, moving on to friggin' Resident Evil 4 remake in VR. Um,
are
uh,
are you a VR guy? I know you started to ask that. I apologize. Are you a VR guy?
not at all, man.
Okay,
Not at all. Are you?
I will vomit intensely, so no.
Yeah, I just like look, and so let's run through this real quick since neither of us are VR people. Maybe this just wasn't a showcase for us. We'll give it that. Maybe that's the big takeaway. There just wasn't a lot in here for us personally, but uh, there's a great version of Resident Evil 4 that you can play the remake right now. It's on consoles. Why in the hell? Like I get that you're selling your PSVR 2s. It's this new innovative technology that you went out and created and are pushing to people, but you're telling me $500 extra to play a game that you can already play on console. That's amazing on console.
Yeah.
Like nothing here. And we'll just run through these real quick because I don't think do you have a lot to say about any of these VR games?
Well,
Was there
let's just run through the five really quick, and then
Yeah.
what I'll say before we run through them is that to your point, if you want to get people to spend the money and you're going to show that Sony, you as a company, believe in your VR, there needs to be unique experiences, and most of these have already been out or are just updates or sequels to games that already are. That's not enough for people to say, "Yeah, I'm just going to go drop 500 on something that might make me throw up." So go ahead and
Yeah.
run through them, though. Yeah, I think that'll help.
Arizona Sunshine 2. I like the tone. Very Dead Island energy going on here. Crossfade Sierra Squad, another military
That
VR
wasn't even the
shooter.
right name, which shows the problem.
What is it?
See that exactly is the big problem with the showcase day. That you didn't even get the name right, and that's not. I'm not saying that to make fun of you. I'm
No,
saying that
you're
because
good.
that's the problem. It's called Crossfire,
Crossfire.
the
Okay,
most generic Call of Duty sounding name. Anyway, sorry. Go ahead.
Okay, wow. So yeah, you once again, like I don't know, is that I wonder if that's in any relation to that Crossfire title that was supposedly a total disaster that came out like last year or the year before that was kind of a big regardless, yeah.
Yes, the
Uh,
answer is yes. It is. It's the same thing.
okay, wonderful. So there you go. Synapse July 4th. We already saw this the black and white kind of VR game. Beat Saber, you can play it on a bunch of other VR headsets. Why would you buy a PSVR 2 for this game? And yeah,
That's
that's
it.
all the VR. Yeah.
That was their big showcase for PSVR 2, which just freaking launched months ago, and they're asking people to spend hundreds of dollars on. Like, you can't like just. I don't know. Yeah, your your whole face and situation right now is exactly how I feel inside.
I
It's like, why? Just stop it.
I just I don't like I know there's an enthusiast market out there for VR, but why? For this VR system in particular. Why? Well,
And we don't know if these games are going to only be able to play on this. You could probably play this on freaking the
oh, for sure.
Meta Questy Facebooky thing, the Valve one, right? You could probably play. I don't know. Do you know
For
if these
sure.
are just exclusive to PSVR two?
Well, we know for a fact that Beat Saber isn't. Obviously, we know for a fact that. Well, I don't even know. Resident Evil 4 remake. If that is here, I'll give you this. If Resident Evil 4 remake is VR2 exclusive, PSVR 2 exclusive, that's a pretty good get. But like
Mm-hmm.
not having thing. Here's the thing: if you don't have a Half-Life Alex equivalent, don't sell a $500 headset. Period.
Yeah, totally.
So
Moving on. I think that nailed it right there. You nailed it in.
Um, yeah, I had here the marathon game, and then the Destiny, the new Destiny 2 reveal for the new expansion or whatever. And then we go into Concord, and this is a Firewalk game,
Mhm.
former Bungie talent, another sci-fi looking shooter with a nothing ass cinematic trailer going on here.
Oh.
I mean, this is mind boggling, man. This is yeah, D plus. I think my energy was feeling correct at the beginning. This would be a D plus show for me.
I don't have anything else to say. It's just again, that's not us trying to say these games aren't going to be good. That's not us trying to say like you guys, the people that making this aren't working hard. It's just that everything looks identical, 80% of it seemingly as we go over all this. So, and that's not even getting into, hey, we got a trailer for the Gran Turismo movie.
Yeah.
No, stop. Let's not say it's not going to be good, but why are you doing that here? That's not, that's, stop it.
Yeah, and
Hey,
then we got the announcement for the Q Lite, the rumored handheld thing. Sure, they like their gadgets, they like their little gimmicks, VR handheld, sure, headphone, sure, and then we
wait,
finally get.
wait.
Oh, my bad. Am I missing something again?
I'm bumping, no. I'm bumping up my review score of this showcase to an A because there's going to be PlayStation earbuds. A plus
There we
showcase.
go. There we go. Consume, baby, consume.
All right, now that I took all the excitement out of your thing, go ahead.
So, but let to switch to a positive note. This was incredible. This Spider-Man 2 trailer was absolutely phenomenal. It was a great, just well-made slice of the game. It felt very reminiscent to me of that Uncharted 4 E3. That would have been Uncharted 4 launched in 2016. So I'm guessing Uncharted 4 probably came, that first reveal was probably 2015 at E3.
Mhm.
That it was just an amazing like debut gameplay showcase. And that's how I feel with this Spider-Man 2 trailer. It looked absolutely stunning. The Spider-Man with the Venom suit and the symbiotic powers, and the switching to Miles on the fly, the big chase scene, which once again felt very reminiscent of that Uncharted 4 chase scene, with the jet skis and shit in Spider-Man 2. Miles Morales flying with the wingsuit. Like, this was an absolutely incredible showing of this title. The only reason it wouldn't be like my game of the show would be because you assumed it had to be here.
Do you feel like seeing the gameplay because they took a big deep dive, right? It was like 15 minutes. It felt like. Do you feel like they showed enough that you're good now?
Yeah.
Like, have you seen enough that you're like, I don't need to see more trailers. I don't need to get more gameplay. I'll just buy it or whatever. Like, do you feel like that as a fan? I'm not the biggest. I enjoyed the first Marvel Spider-Man. I'm just not a Marvel guy. I'm not a superhero guy. So like, I'll play them, but like, they're not my thing. As you are more of a fan, it sounds like then you got what you needed, right?
Yeah, no, I mean, I really do hope we still get to play as Venom, and I understand if that's something that they just save to let people see in the gameplay. But seeing Craven, like, I'm not once again, similar to you, I'm not a crazy Marvel fan. Like, I'm not jumping for joy for new Marvel stuff, but like this, objectively, just in terms of a video game. That's the thing with me. If you make a great video game, I don't care if it's Star Wars, Marvel, like, I'm gonna try to check it out. And like you said,
Mm-hmm.
you're not a big Marvel guy, but seeing what Insomniac did with that first Spider-Man, it's like, hell yeah, this is worth playing. And that's how I feel. Like, they just objectively make great games, and this feels like it'll be nothing less than great. I do want to see more. I want to see more environments. I want to see, like, what is going to be the big difference maker of this title, other than just switching to Miles on the fly, which is a humongous difference maker. I get that.
Mm-hmm.
I still would like to see more in terms of what else I could be excited for. But I think that the core of what they do and what they make is so good that I kind of have like blind faith in Insomniac at this point. But with that being said, there might be some other people out there who really enjoyed the first game but didn't love it quite as much as I did. And they're like, you're gonna have to show me a little bit more, because it kind of looks somewhat similar in a lot of aspects. But I would just say it looks, to me, the like immediate improvements that I saw, like being able to like tether together multiple people, and there were a couple improvements there. As a fan who really enjoyed Miles Morales and the first game, I was excited to see, but I could understand people wanting to see more.
Yeah, that well said, man. I don't have anything to add to that. I just think that the challenge with these, and this is just a personal thing with these kind of showcases and games that get released, you can't please everyone, right? If
For
you're
sure.
Sony and you're putting this together, like you're not going to please everyone, And at the end of the day, it's hard to separate. At least for me, the biases, like I want to see certain things, you want to see certain things, XYZ viewer wants to see certain things. So they clearly at least tried to do some AAA, some indie, some double A. Like they tried to at least weave in a bunch of different variety in terms of types of games, maybe not style or substance with everything being sci-fi. But a lot of people were hoping to see more of Spider-Man 2, especially with games being $70, 70 pounds, what have you. And I'm glad fans got that. Even if it's not for me, I'm glad fans got that because, yeah, it's a good thing overall. I wish it would have been Silent Hill 2, but that's just my own, selfishness. So.
I want to touch on one thing before we
Sure.
go. Eh, Last of Us Factions did not pop up. That is like, I mean, to me, that's major, major red flags.
Mm,
Major red flags. I who knows? I could be whatever, but the a lot of people were hoping that this thing was going to launch this year. No chance. It would be here if it was launching this year. You got to assume that this might not launch next year at
mm.
this point. I could be wrong. It could be one of those things that just pops up, but that's a humongous omission from the show.
Is Naughty Dog themselves making this?
Yep.
I just didn't know if it's like a side studio because I know people loved that from it was in the first Last of Us, right? The factions mode, is that correct?
Yeah, right, right, correct.
Okay, that is wow. Didn't even think about that. That's smart to bring that up because you're right. It's been rumored to be coming out somewhat recently. But if Naughty Dog, which is one of the golden children of like Sony, just like with Insomniac and Sucker Punch, that is a little concerning, especially if they're trying to push this new free to play model with a lot of these games. Seemingly, that's a big one. That's a tentpole one, right? Theoretically.
Absolutely, man.
So,
Yeah, I mean, some just to throw out a couple here, some more that were weird that didn't show up to me. Asobi didn't pop up. The Astro team, no Twisted Metal popped up. The London Studios service game didn't pop up. Sony Bend wasn't seen at the showcase. Final Fantasy VII wasn't here. That's supposed to be coming out this winter. I understand Final Fantasy 16, so that makes it kind of difficult. I don't know if I already said Sony Bend. Bloodborne, the rumored remastered,
mhm.
that didn't pop up. Pragmata, that didn't pop up. Like there's some things that and Pragmata, that I don't think that was console exclusive, but there's some weird missing pieces here that Stellar Blade didn't pop up. We've seen
Hmm.
so much of that game, and that's exclusive, supposed to be coming this year.
Hmm.
This is a red flag showcase to me.
So does it make you think that with these titles, because a lot of those big ones, were talked about what a year or two ago, which we isn't like a huge amount of time for developing these massive games, but do you think it's a red flag in terms that these games aren't just panning out creatively or mechanically like they thought, or is it just they're I don't know. I'm just curious. Like, what do you think makes it a red? I agree, it's also a red flag, but what do you think makes it a red flag for you?
I absolutely think that's a possibility with Last of Us Factions, that
Okay.
something might have went wrong because it here's the thing. I could end up looking like an absolute jackass if by Summer
Welcome to
Games
the
Fest,
club.
if at the Summer Games Fest showcase, The Last of Us Factions just pops up onto the scene, and it's like at that point, I can't, I have to eat my words, and I'm happy to do so, but it's just like I'm underwhelmed by this showcase. I'm just gonna say that I'm very underwhelmed by this showcase, and I truly don't think I had my expectations set too high. I maybe I did, but I'm a little bit underwhelmed by this showcase. I really do think like a C minus D plus range for me.
I mean, the fact that even after going through all the games again, talking about it, you still feel the same, I think is kind of proves the point. I would agree with you. I'd probably still stay around the C, maybe C minus. Yeah, it's just, I'll be honest, I didn't have any expectations. I don't really get super pumped about showcases because I feel like generally they never live up to like what we
Yeah.
want in our minds. So I was just kind of going into this to see what's new. And even with just that bare bones mindset, I was kind of like, I didn't really need to watch any of that probably. Like there wasn't anything that was like, oh my gosh, I'm so gung ho that I watched that. Um,
Yeah.
that being said, again, I want to reiterate because I know and imagine how hard it is to create experiences and please everyone and develop these games and be pressured from publishers or whatever. So, to people that work on that, God bless you. Seriously, that's got to be rough. So, I hope these games do well and all that. But man, it was definitely I could have cared less if I watched that or not at this point. So, which is
Right.
sad.
Right. That's kind of the main takeaway is like there was some good stuff in here, not showcase worthy for like you haven't had one of these in 2 years. It's not of that echelon, in my opinion. I know Sony's pushing this new live service initiative. We very much see it. That take it or leave it, I guess. But hey, man, that's every game covered at the PlayStation showcase. So
We did it. Let's. You're not going to clap awkward. Okay. I do want to ask one last. No, stop. It's weird now. I want to ask a question though. A final one, unless you have something else. Is we don't have to talk about it long, but is there a game, whether it was ever rumored or real or nothing, like that you just in your mind was like, man, that would have been so cool if this XYZ game came? It doesn't even have to be real at all. Like, was there something in your mind that like I wish Sony showed that? I'll let you think about it. My answer is I really was hoping or wanted just to have a new Sly Cooper game. I love the Sly Cooper games. I know Sucker Punch has said they're not interested in it right now. That would have just been like a dream one for me to see a new Sly Cooper game. Again, that was there was nothing based on that. That was just a pure. That would have been so cool. Do you have anything
yeah,
like that?
I do. Yeah, similarly to you. Well, kind of not because this did get revealed. Knights of the Old Republic, that remake that was going to be PlayStation 5 exclusive. Um, yeah, I don't think we're gonna see that ever. Unlikely, or most likely, and it bums me out. I think if that could have popped back up here, it would have really Wolverine, another one we didn't see. Insomniac's Wolverine didn't
Yeah.
pop up onto the scene. There's a lot of I understand. Here's the thing: I will give them 100% credit for this. You hold off Wolverine, you hold off Ghost of Tsushima 2, you have that at next year's showcase, and start building up your slate there. If Wolverine's a 2024 game, you have Ghost as a 2025 game. I'm fine with that.
Mm-hmm.
This just there was some big misses here, but yeah, KOTOR remake, Knights of the Republic remake, if that would have came back up and just kind of popped onto the scene and say, hey, all the rumor and conjecture about this thing being canceled, it's not happening, here's a 30-second 45-second slice of gameplay,
Mm-hmm.
I would have been pumped to see that.
That's a good shout. It's
Yeah.
just fun to. I just like to hear people's like, hey, well, it's just a fun fantasy one, whether it's real or not. So there we go.
Oh, well, if we're going totally fantasy, like Dino Crisis, Parasite Eve, like those type of remakes, of course, I would have went out of my mind, but I wasn't expecting that even. I wasn't even expecting KOTOR in my wildest dreams. But
You know what I just realized real quick?
what's
I
that?
think I know why they didn't show Last of Us Factions.
Hit me.
And you can tell that I'm already joking because I'm leaning in like a weirdo.
Oh
It's
boy.
because Silent Hill 2 is turning into a battle royale.
Oh my god, dude!
You
I
heard it
will.
here first, guys. Leon Kennedy's in
Yeah.
and is in Fortnite. So just saying. All right, sorry. No, that I just had to say it. I just had to say it. That's the joke. All right, haha, laugh.
I will find the biggest cliff in the world and springboard headfirst into the deep end. Golly, man! But yeah,
All
we
right,
we
all right.
we we have a lot of live service stuff for those of you live service fans out there, and you own a PlayStation for whatever reason. If you chose to buy a PlayStation 4 looking for live service titles when that wasn't at all the focus for the 8th generation, but it's the focus for the 9th generation. So there we are, guys. I, you got anything else you want to throw in here? I'm pretty good on this.
I think we covered it well, man. It was just such a blast to talk about this, and I appreciate immensely you letting me come do this with your homies here. So thank you, man. It was a lot of fun just talking about all of our gaming goodness.
Yeah, I appreciate you for joining me, man. Really a nice time chatting, even if you know maybe not the greatest content in the world to cover here, but I appreciate you guys for tuning in, and I appreciate you guys for subscribing, taking the time to give the video a like if you would like to do that, whatever you want to do. Appreciate you guys. We'll get back on to schedule podcast Tuesday, 11 a.m. Central Standard Time. And until then, take it easy and see you guys soon. Goodbye.
Bye.